Cameos, they have been a thing since the first movies that were ever released. Fun moments that set apart those that know from those that do not know. So let me get you onto the knowledgeable side of things by offering 5 movie cameos that you might have missed. Let's have a look. With multiple decades of movies being made, there are quite a lot of cameos to pull from for a video like this. For every cameo you have heard about, there's at least 10 that you never knew existed. And that's exactly why I'm making this video into a series of videos. Haha. And in each of these videos I'm going to try and surprise you with 5 cameos from very different eras in movie history, in very different genres, and with a very different set of actors that had a cameo in possibly one of your favorite or least favorite movies ever. Now some might be obvious, while others are going to be very surprising, to the point that you'll just have to take my word for it. Like the one that ends today's list. That is one of those, one that has been a secret for the longest time. Without saying too much, it actually ties the movie Hulk into Star Wars. Yeah, I know. But first, I want to start out with a classic. A classic movie that had a double cameo. One very obvious and one extremely sneaky. It is rather well known that the director Martin Scorsese had a pretty lengthy cameo in his own movie, Taxi Driver. One of the movies that put Robert De Niro on the map. Well, one of the first. In this infamous scene, Scorsese plays one of the passengers in De Niro's, or rather Travis Bickle's, car, his taxi cab. Because it's about a taxi driver. Duh. And this passenger wants to kill his wife, who is cheating on him in an apartment. That's basically the gist of it. It is a very tense scene in an already very dark movie, where De Niro has exactly one line of text. Like, I'm even overselling it by calling it a line. At some point he just says, yeah, that's it. The rest of that 3-minute scene is Scorsese acting very twitchy and weird. It's definitely worth a watch. But I think it is safe to state, unless you do not know what a young Scorsese looks like, that is a pretty obvious cameo. The thing is, however, that was not his only cameo in that movie. See, 10 minutes into the movie, there's this kind of slow motion shot of Betsy, played by Sybil Shepherd, walking by, and one of the people watching her, sitting on this short wall, is Martin Scorsese. Cheeky little bugger. To be fair, Martin Scorsese really made it a habit to have a cameo in all of his own movies. There's a few directors that did that. Something we'll talk about in future videos. Someone else that did his fair share of cameos is Dan Aykroyd. This Saturday Night Live alumni was actually one of the masterminds behind the Ghostbusters series. A movie about a ghost-busting squad back in the 80s. Those first 2 movies were some of my favorites ever. They were hugely popular and the whole world went kind of ghost crazy. So a few years later, another movie was made about a popular ghost. Casper, the Friendly Ghost. It featured Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman, and Monty Python's Eric Idle. And in one of the scenes where the new owners, including Eric, want to kind of exorcise all of the ghosts that are in the house, they are bringing in some people to help, including Father Guido Sarducci, which is a character played by a comedian, Don Novello. You can compare it to the Borat of that time. I guess. Maybe. Yeah. And none other than Dan Aykroyd in his role as Ghostbuster, Ray Stantz, who surprisingly passed on the job. Kinda like a chicken. But it is a fun set of cameos. Now, while we're talking about actors reprising popular roles for a cameo, Christopher Lloyd is known for a wide variety of roles he played, but I think the most known role is, of course, Doc Brown from Back to the Future, one of my favorite movie series ever.
Oh, great Scott!
And it seems I'm not the only big fan of Back to the Future, because years later, decades later, in 2014, the creator of Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, made a Western movie called A Million Ways to Die in the West. Not a bad movie, quite funny. And it included Charlize Theron and Liam Neeson, Neil Patrick Harris, quite a large cast, including Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown. See, there's this short scene where Seth MacFarlane's character, Albert, sees a blue light in a barn in the distance. So he walks up to the barn, opens the door, and finds Doc Brown tinkering with the DeLorean time machine, which is a super fitting tribute because the third Back to the Future movie was actually set in the Far West around that age. It was an awesome cameo that brought back a lot of memories. And so did the next one on the list. In the early 90s, I used to watch the series called 21 Jump Street. That was about a young group of cops that were, because of their kind of young looks, used as decoys or undercover agents at high schools to kind of flush out all of the drugs dealers. Now that series featured Johnny Depp, a really young Johnny Depp, even before he played Edward Scissorhands. I think the only thing he did up till then was Nightmare on Elm Street. Now later that franchise was rebooted as comedy movies, featuring Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. And now in the first movie of that series, in one of the last scenes, their characters force two DEA agents out of cover. And those agents end up being Peter DeLuise and Johnny Depp, who played a role in the original series. Which ties it all together because at some point they also mentioned that they used to be part of that 21 Jump Street program, after which they are brutally shot. Yeah, short cameo. But alright, that last one on the list, the one that was a secret for the longest time, tying in Hook to Star Wars. If you remember Hook, this Spielberg classic that featured Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, and Julia Roberts. In that movie, there's a scene where Tinkerbell flies the adult Peter Pan back to Neverland. And as she always does, she uses her fairy dust to kind of drag him around back to Neverland, over the roofs of London. At some point, they fly over a bridge, and there's this couple kissing each other on that bridge, but they get kind of drenched in the fairy dust, so they start floating up. A beautiful scene. Now that couple is none other than George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, and Carrie Fisher, aka Princess Leia. Bam! Haha! That kind of explains why Princess Leia was flying through space in one of those latest Star Wars movies. Screw the Force. It was fairy dust. The thing is, of course, that they're so small that it is really hard to personally kind of verify that it's actually them. But both of them have talked about this in the past, so I'm just going to believe them. Because they're George Lucas and Carrie freaking Fisher. Anyways, those were all the cameos I wanted to discuss in this video. But like I said, more of these videos are coming soon in the coming weeks and months, so make sure to subscribe. Now tell me, which is your favorite cameo? Let me know in the comments. For now, however, that was it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my YouTube members. You too can become a member right here on YouTube and unlock exclusive rewards. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out one of my other videos. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye bye.